So today we are gonna be looking at the Chigorin variation, which is a variation after the closed Spanish. And of course the Spanish starts after e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and bishop to b5. This is the RuyLopez or Spanish game, and the closed Spanish continues after the moves a6, bishop a4. We don't enter the exchange Spanish, which would be bishop takes c6, but we retreat our bishop to f4, knight to f6 is played, attacking the e4 pawn. We don't defend this pawn, we just castle. Black plays bishop e7, trying to castle and to play d6 later on. We play rook to e1, defending the e4 pawn, and now we're threatening to take this knight and then to take this pawn because this pawn is defended. So b5 is played, not allowing to capture the knight on c6, and after b5 we play bishop to b3, of course. Now black continues with the move d6, solidifying his e5 pawn. We play the move c3, trying to play d4. This is still the very main line theory. Black continues by castling, and we play this move h3, not allowing any bishop g4, because if we were to play d4 here, bishop to g4 would be kinda annoying to face. So we play h3 first. And here the closed Spanish branches out, and today we are gonna be looking, as I said, to Chigorin variation, which is knight to a5, challenging this bishop on b3. The only good move is to play bishop to c2, of course, retreating this light square bishop. And now black really has only one move, which is to play c5. And now the theory starts by white playing the move d4. And here is where black has three possibilities. The main line is queen to c7, and there are two sidelines. One is knight to d7, and one is to capture this pawn twice, like this. This is the first thing we're gonna be looking today. And after, as I said, cd4, we take back, and when black takes this pawn, we take back with the knight. Now black follows the mainline theory with bishop to b7. And this is a very sideline to the Chigorin variation. It's not played commonly, and in this position, white continues with the move knight to f5 and has a great position. So that's not a really challenging line to face in the Chigorin variation of the Closed Ruy Lopez. So here black continues with the move rook to e8, and we simply develop our pieces. We will take this bishop if black doesn't retreat the bishop to f8, and we have a great position. So cd4 after the move d4 is not really challenging. Let me go through this line one more time very quickly. We take back, black takes back, we take with the knight, bishop b2, bishop b7, I'm sorry, and knight to f5, and we are great here. So after the move d4, if black wants to play like the theory says, he will play, cause the thing is, after d4 this pawn is hanging, like we're threatening to take this pawn. So the option is to defend it with the knight, and this is called the Chigorin variation of the Chigorin Variation, and we just develop our pieces, knight bd2, and now black takes the pawn with e d4, we take back cd4, and knight to c6 is the move. Here we play d5, of course, because this pawn is hanging. We play d5, knight to e5 is played, and we play a4. This is still theory, and your opponent will most likely play bishop to b7 here, and after bishop to b7 we trade this knight. Your opponent will recapture with the knight, and we play f4, and we have an amazing position. After the knight will move, let's say, to g6, you can see that we have a lot of central space. We control a lot of key squares in the position. a4 was played, which is a very typical move in the RuyLopez. You can check out my basics videos if you don't know any of the ideas in the RuyLopez. So, and this knight will go to f3, and this bishop will develop to e3 most likely. So this variation is not very challenging as well. The most challenging line is, of course, after d4 to play queen to c7, solidifying your pawn like this. So now, after queen to c7, we have only one really good move, which is knight bd2. We just develop our knight, solidifying the center by defending the e4 pawn one more time. And here there are as well three options. The main line goes cd4. We'll look at this a bit later. But there are two sidelines. First sideline is to play knight to c6, attacking this pawn. After knight to c6, we almost always in the Chigorin variation of the RuyLopez play the move d5. And here black has this idea of going back to d8 and trying to come to b7 square, and maybe later on playing c4 and knight to c5. This is the common maneuver of this black knight. After the move knight to d8, we play a4, a common idea as I mentioned before, and black will respond with the move rook to b8. We will take this pawn back, and we'll play b4, and we have once again this open a file and a lot of central space right here. And our knight will go to f1 and to g3. This bishop will usually develop to g5 or to maybe to e3, and we will have an amazing position. So here white is better. White has definitely an opening edge, because these pieces on the 8th rank looks really dumb and they are undeveloped. So white has an opening edge in this variation. So after the move knight b to d2, there is one sideline to know, which is bishop to d7. And bishop to d7, just developing light square bishops and connecting the rooks. And after bishop to d7, we just continue with our RuyLopez maneuver. We play knight to f1. Black usually plays knight to c4 in this position. And after knight to c4, we play b3. We want to kick this knight away. The knight will go, of course, to b6. We will now play not knight to g3, but we will play knight to e3. And after very logical move c4 from black, we will play this very nice positional idea. We will play bishop to a3, putting some pressure on the f8 rook. So rook will move from f8 to e8, and now we will just play the move queen to d2, connecting the rooks. And in this position, white stands a bit better. Of course, white has an opening edge, and this bishop is really nice, so that black cannot really play d5. Never, because we will trade this dark square bishop and we would stand great in this position. So this rook usually goes to d1 from here, and we have a great position. Maybe we will take, maybe we will push this d4 pawn, so white doesn't have any problems in this variation of the Chigorin variation. So after knight bd2, as I mentioned, there are three possibilities. We looked at two, now we will follow the main line with c d4. We will take, of course, back with the c pawn. And now there are once again a few lines to know. There are four possibilities in this position. And if you are watching this video trying to play RuyLopez as white, make sure to follow my playlist on RuyLopez, where I will be covering all the possible variations. So after we take back the pawn, there are a few options. Mainline theory is knight to c6. There is the move rook to d8 as well, which we are gonna be looking. There is the move bishop to d7, and there is the move bishop to b7, which we are gonna be looking now. So after bishop to b7, black is developing this bishop to this long diagonal, but this bishop isn't doing anything, because we can just play the move d5, closing down this bishop. And after d5, black will play the move rook a to c8, attacking our c2 bishop. We will play bishop to d3, putting some pressure on this pawn chain that black created after a6 and b5. And here black continues with knight to d7, probably trying to put his knight on the c5 square, putting pressure on our dark square bishop. Here we continue with our RuyLopez maneuver. We play knight to f1, trying to play knight to g3. And after f5, putting some pressure on our pawn center, we play knight to g3, solidifying our center and attacking the f5 pawn. So the only move in the position to hold the balance is the move f4. We play, of course, knight to f5, of course, and here the move is just a second, I'm sorry. Here the move is, of course, bishop to d8, because we were attacking the bishop. And now we play b3. And after b3, g6 will be played. We'll put our bishop, our knight, I'm sorry, to h6. Of course, checking the king. King will step one square closer to g7. We'll play knight g4, h5. We go back to h2, and this position is very, very good for white. This bishop will, of course, develop to b2. This rook will come to c1. And although black has some space due to these two pawn chains, black has weakened king. We might play some like g3 or even g4, trying to open the king side and black king. And in this variation, black is really okay. So after the move bishop to b7, as I mentioned, there is another possibility. It's not very good, but as a white player, you need to know it. After we play knight to g3, just a second, knight g3, f4 is played. We play knight to f5, and here is the possibility, maybe you spot it, of rook sacrifice. I'm sorry, rook takes f5. It's not very clear. This position is very unbalanced. Of course, we take the rook. Now black plays knight to f6, trying to take this pawn, and of course we cannot defend it. But in this position we play knight to g5, and after bishop takes d5, we play bishop to e4, and all the pieces get traded, and we have an exchange, but black has a pawn, and this opens c file, but the d6 pawn will be weak, and for now this knight is out of the game. So this position is kinda unbalanced, but white is very okay and has no worries at all. So these were two variations after bishop to b7, but black most likely will play bishop to d7 if he will want to develop his light square bishop, and after bishop to d7 we play knight to f1 anyway, and now black will attack our light square bishop with the move rook a to c8. We will defend this light square bishop with the knight. Knight to e3 will be played, and now knight to c6, putting this knight from a5 back into the game via c6. And I said, when knight goes to c6, we usually want to play d5. And after d5, black knight will go to b4, we will play bishop to b1. It looks very passive, but the position is great for white. Now black has only one move to hold a balance, which is a5, and a5 will be played. And in this position we play knight to a3. I'm sorry, not knight to a3, but just pawn to a3, attacking his knight. The knight needs to go to a6, and we play this move b4. Actually, it looks like a pawn sacrifice, but this pawn cannot be captured with the knight. Let me just put it on the board. After knight takes b4, we will play bishop to d2, attacking the knight. The knight cannot go back to a6 because of the rook, and the only way to defend this knight is to play queen to c5, but then we will just play queen to b3, and this pawn, this knight is lost. It will has to sacrifice for a pawn, and white is completely winning in this position. So after the trade on b4, black plays the move queen to b7, and now he is threatening to take the pawn, because after bishop to d2 the knight can go back to a6. So we play now bishop to d2, solidifying our queen side, and we have once again more space in the center. We are having more space on the queen side as well with this open a file, and we stand great in this position. White has an opening edge, and that's what we are trying to achieve in the RuyLopez. So after a trade on d4 with cd4, there is one more sideline you need to know, which is the move rook to d8, and after the move rook to d8, we just follow the basics. We play the move b3, that's a common idea in the Chigorin variations. We're trying to play bishop to b2 or bishop to a3 even, and now black plays knight to c6, once again trying to put his knight back into the game, attacking this pawn. And in this position we don't play d5, but we just develop our dark square bishop, to the b2 square, defending this central pawn d4. So black will do the same, bishop to b7, and now we play rook to c1, x-raying this queen. So queen usually moves to b6, sidestepping this rook, and now we play the move d5. Knight will go to b4, putting pressure on this light square bishop and the pawn. So we play very logical move, bishop to b1. It might look like this bishop is really bad, but it's actually pretty good. It's defending both e4 and a2, and it's a great piece. So a5 will be played because it's the only move that keeps the balance, and we will continue with our maneuver knight to f1, trying to put our knight to g3. So here the theory ends for this sideline with rook to d8. Once again we have more space in the center. We'll kick this knight away and try to play b4 then. We have this open c file and we stand better here. But the main line goes after cd4, knight to c6, putting pressure on this pawn. This is bread and butter of the Chigorin variation of the RuyLopez, so this is the main line theory, and here we play knight to b3, defending this pawn. Black here plays the move a5, trying to play a4 and undermine the defense of the d4 pawn, so we defend the d4 pawn one more time with the move bishop to e3, developing our dark square bishop as well as defending this pawn. And now we can see the importance of the h3 move, because otherwise black would have this very annoying knight to g5 move attacking our bishop. So after remove bishop e3, this is still the main line theory. Black plays the move a4, dislodging our knight. Our knight returns back to d2 with the move knight b to d2. And here black just develops with bishop to d7. I'm sorry. After the move bishop to d7, we want to activate our rook on a1, and we activated it with the move rook to c1, once again x-raying the queen, and we are threatening to play d5 and then like sacking the pawn with the open attack on the queen. So the queen of course must move with the move queen to b7, and here we play the move knight to f1. And here is the one more sideline that you need to know. The main move is move rook f to e8, but the sideline you need to know is the move rook f. I'm sorry, rook f to c8. After the move rook f to c8, we just play knight to g3, and black plays g3, trying to put his bishop back on f8. And after remove g6, we just develop our queen with intention to go to h6 and putting pressure on these dark squares weaknesses that black created with the move g6. And in this sideline we stand better, we have an opening edge, and we fight for advantage in the middle game. Of course the main line is, as I said, rook f to e8, and now we continue with knight to g3, completing our Spanish maneuver with this knight. And here black plays the move bishop to d8, putting this bishop back to this diagonal, probably going to b6, pressuring this central pawn that we have on d4. We continue with the move queen to e2, and this move might seem like unlogical move. You would think that queen is better on d2, but actually is better on e2, so that we will be able to play a rook to d1 and defend the pawn with the rook, not with the queen. So the theory continues with the move h6, and after h6 we take this pawn, black takes back, and we play bishop to d3, attacking this pawn. So black defends this pawn with the move knight to b4. It's defended, the pawn is defended as I said, and we just move back to b1. That's the end of the theory, and with the move bishop d3 we provoke the knight to move back, to move forward to b4, and our bishop is very good on b1. It's overprotecting the e4 pawn, it's defending the a2 pawn, which will most likely go to a3, challenging this knight. We will double our rooks on the open c file, and we have a great position. We will play against this weak pawn. Maybe we will put our rook to c5 actually, to threaten this pawn, and then we will double up, and we have a lot to play for in this position. Of course, the middle games are very complex in the Chigorin variations, and if you want to play Chigorin variation well, you must study it on your own as well, and try to study and look through the model games in this opening on the highest level of chess. And if you want to get familiar with the other variations, the other theories, the other defenses to the RuyLopez, make sure to subscribe to follow this RuyLopez playlist. See you guys in another video.